Hello, gentle viewers. It is your co-host, GymBagBob, starting us off tonight. There will be no haphazard occurrence or trivia question this week, for I had dropped the ball and forgot it was my turn. Oops. Anyway, let's get to my fellow hosts for this special podcast episode.
I'm your co-host, President of Ukraine, Amadeus Kyouma.
Don't slander his name like that. All right, I'm your host. I'm your host, Vladimir Zelensky.
Okay, all right, don't slander his name like that.
I'm your host, Nocam. And yeah, it is indeed a special episode. One being, oops, all improvisation, and two being, yeah, this
We
is
live in
a
interesting times.
Ukrainian special episode here. If the thumbnail didn't already catch your eyes, then hopefully this episode by itself should. So
Let's I think what we should do is this episode is going to be dated, assuming we aren't blown to nuclear Armageddon in the next couple of months or weeks or however that would happen.
yeah.
Let's set the stage for any potential future civilization listening to our current day and age. So currently it is February 27th, a Sunday. 4 days prior, Thursday, Russia formally invaded its neighboring country, Ukraine.
No, actually, they were defending themselves. At least
So
that was what they tried saying in the UN talks.
so basically, yeah, a country is being invaded by another country for, depends on whoever wins. That's what history you get. But because we're Westerners, you get our side of things. So Russia's invading Ukraine. Ukraine is, it hasn't fallen yet. There's a bunch of different stories, maybe morale boosts, various things happening, various war crimes on all fronts being committed. Well, actually, not on all fronts, on Russia's front, specifically.
I'm not entirely sure if they're going to lose either. I mean,
I'd
I
say
don't know.
it's like, I don't know. I don't know enough about military to make an educated guess. It seems really odd that Russia hasn't already won. But I mean, I don't
Oh
know.
no, definitely odd, but I mean, I know it's going to take a while. I mean, it's obviously not like Call of Duty, so I mean, it's not going to be like a 30-minute, steamroll. There's going to be other things going into it. I know, like Georgia, that one took probably 15 days. How long did that invasion last?
No idea. I don't even remember hearing about that when that was a thing. Um, Interestingly enough, I'm very glad to see the human spirit. This is the first, I guess, invasion or big sort of war that I've seen since my existence. I mean, I grew up hearing about invasion of Afghanistan, Iraq, and all that, but too young to really have an idea for it. Finally, at the age where like, okay, I can realize this is the start of something. This is interesting. All the stories, the president of Ukraine denying a request for evacuation, saying, "I don't need a ride. I need ammunition."
Yeah,
Uh,
100% respect for him.
yeah. Other stories that have come out as well about the ghost of Ukraine.
Of
Uh,
Kiev.
yep.
Or no,
Oh yeah,
Ghost of Ukraine, yeah. And then no wait.
it is Kiev. I was
Okay, and
wrong.
then it was Ukrainian Reaper is what that other one is.
Yeah, an ace pilot, the first one of this century, shot down, I believe, 11 Russian jets. And you have, Mr. Reaper over here killing a bunch of people.
Again, a lot
Uh,
of this is hearsay. I'd love for them to be 100% true. Though
I mean,
nothing can be confirmed
well,
further.
the former president of Ukraine confirms the ghost of Kiev. All right, former Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko shared this image where it's just a fighter pilot and he has his thumbs up. Uh, as it turns out, the so-called ghost of Kiev is actually real. There are now various sources that have confirmed his existence. All right, so one of these various sources is Pedro Poroshenko. All right, downed 6 aircraft from the Russian government on Thursday, February 24th. In one day, all right, so this guy's been playing Battlefield.
You think that rocket launcher move, whatever the fuck that move was called?
Yeah. Um, there's no way to confirm his face or real identity, but okay, so it really could just be a former president really just wanting to give morale to people, but I mean, either way, it's good to hear. It's
Yeah.
fun to see. It's nice that every war has its heroes, its villains. Um,
I mean, obviously we're on the right side of history. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, the right side of history means nothing when history is all ashes.
But I mean, at the same
Which
time,
I think that segues into
yeah.
an interesting topic, the possibility of things escalating. How do you see this escalating from here?
Yeah, as a very professional war. Uh, why the fuck am I opening Roblox? All right.
All right, all right.
All right. Yeah, as you could hear, as a very professional stance here. Um, it could take two directions. We could, like I said earlier, they could fully take over Ukraine.
Yeah,
And because we're obviously not planning on throwing any soldiers there as of right now, because
I don't think we ever would
that would
without that
yeah,
escalating it into the Armageddon-esque scenario, possibly.
right. So I mean, as far as that, I don't think there's any plans. Again, as of now, I don't know a situation where it would, other than nuclear war, but maybe there's a workaround. Maybe it turned out that he doesn't actually have nuclear weapons, and he's just like, you know,
Oh, so
the
that'd be
very
fucking great.
convenient scenario where he's just like bluffing all around, which I highly doubt, at least in that regard.
That
In the
is, they had detonations in the fucking 60s.
yeah, exactly. But
Unless
yeah,
maybe this is like a case of Greek fire where they lost their ancient secrets, but unfortunately, I don't believe so.
yeah. Okay, so I mean, in that case, yeah. I mean, if they completely take Ukraine, I mean, we did what we could. Uh, yeah. I mean, and then they're just gonna keep going to keep reclaiming land, and there's nothing we can really do to stop them other than further making further escalations, which is kind of fucking sketchy because yeah, he knows that, and he expected the sanctions because he's not going to have you know straight up war. He's expecting us to retaliate in semi light ways, though. I mean, the economical sanctions as of recently have been increasingly more intense. But the economy only goes so far. It only affects the common people. And then when it comes to
Well, I mean, if the economy starts to affect both the upper class and middle and lower class of Russia, if the country itself starts to face revolts and massive, large, I mean, think of Russia as a country from what little of it I know. The country got massively reformed during the Bolshevik Revolution, where the poor class basically overthrew the rich
yep.
and completely changed the power dynamic in Russia. This was because the upper class, i.e., I guess you could say the government, is out of touch with the wants of the common people until the common people decide to say, fuck you, we're changing shit our way.
And look what's happening all over again.
It could be. I
I
mean,
mean,
the
he has a lot of money. I mean, there's a yacht that was in repairs in some European country. I don't fucking remember, but it was in repairs in a European country. And as soon as the sanctions came, he withdrew his yacht, brought it back
mm,
to Russia, so he could, you know. So when he was sanctioned personally, it won't affect him. He has money in different kinds of places. He's could be. I actually don't know how much money he has. Probably up in the billions.
Putin?
Yeah.
I think, well, I'm not sure how much he has. I think Russia is worth like 613 billion. That actually sounds really low. I'm not sure where I saw that number from, but no. I think
Yeah. So I mean,
one thing I'd be curious about, and I kind of see why they don't, but I also don't see why this couldn't be an option. I think US and Russia, if that ever came to it, let's say, escalation happens, Ukraine is taken, all other Soviet countries are reabsorbed in the conglomerate of the former USSR. So what happens is Russia has a border with a fuck ton of NATO countries, and Russia decides once again, I want to add you to my collection like I'm Thanos collecting Infinity Gems.
Infinity
Uh,
Stones. Yeah.
whatever. If I think the US and Russia, they could be engaged in war and not use nuclear weapons against each other. You can just have smaller scale skirmishes without totally decimating the entirety of your nation.
All right, so this is a very reliable source. It is called celebritynetworth.com.
Nope. All right.
Yeah, so it says, there's clearly a lot of smoke coming from. So he's talking. I think he himself says that he has like 200 billion. Uh, and then he says, supposedly told, again, this is a lot of this is hearsay because this is just from that website. So, I mean, this is, again, if you want to look into it more, you're going to have to do some more research. But Putin once told a journalist, I am the wealthiest man, not just in Europe, but in the whole world. I collect emotions. I am wealthy in that the people of
What?
Russia have twice entrusted me with the leadership of great nations such as Russia. I
Uh-huh.
believe that is my greatest wealth.
Okay.
All right,
So
so that
it's
has nothing to do with like actual money.
everything's propaganda, all right? You
Yeah.
only I was listening to a podcast. It's called Hardcore History. I recommend anyone that's listening to this one listen to that one because that one is far better in just about every way. But it is, all right, there's just no doubt. Uh so as you can guess, it talks about ancient history or history for the most part. And one of the interesting things is how you really have to read between the lines in terms of what is played up propaganda versus what we can assume likely happened. The biggest one is for a lot of ancient history, we only have things from the Greek side of things as a country. Their biggest competitor, for the most part, to really simplify things, Persia, for the most part. We don't have records from the Persian side of things, for the most part, about any of these conflicts. We have this one Greek playwright who details a lot of Persia's history and tells it to what we can presume to be an audience. Uh, if you're a playwright and you're trying to entertain people, you mix in truth with exaggeration to get the best overall story. That's our only source of information for a lot of these character types, how some of these people died, how certain battles went down is just exaggerations of a playwright. Him being more colorful or him knowing the exact dialogue spoken, it's still likely true, but to what extent we never know because his job is to create a story, but we don't, he's not actually keeping things for authentic historical records. All that is to say that history becomes very muddled, and even not even just by time alone, but just by perspective bias, I guess you can call it.
Yeah, there's
There isn't.
perspective bias. They want to, there's morale boost as well. Like, I mean, they're telling people in Russia, I mean, absolutely no one has been captured or died. I mean, at least that's from what source? Some sources tell me. Um, and that they're also just steamrolling through Ukraine like no problem, despite, obviously seeing a lot of resistance and just making it through Kharkiv today, I believe. So, yeah, I mean, they're benefiting in the way of showing their Russian, you know, constituents, if you would even call them that to begin with, uh, that yeah, we're completely fine. This is why we're doing what we're doing. We're the greatest military ever. I mean, you can say that with any country besides some European ones that are kind of humbled in the fact that they don't have a big military power and don't like to really care to flex it, but still.
Yeah, it's just talk about Russia as a whole, silencing any media talking about another perspective of things. It really is just
Well, they're silencing a lot. They got limited Twitter access, I think. I'm not sure about YouTube. Um, yeah, definitely. I know what two pornography streaming websites banned
nice.
or they banned their people from using that, and then they basically told them to meet people in real life, which is pretty good. Telling their common people to touch blades of touch grass instead. No, it's the whole concept. They want to make their society better and stronger than the other ones, like China, who we're having some interesting confrontations with recently, and I mean, at least within Taiwan. I mean, I wouldn't say anything super
Well, haven't they just
escalatory,
flown
but
over jets, which they've done in the past multiple times before, just flown jets into Taiwanese airspace?
yeah. So it's just that. I mean, on the same day of invasion is kind of sketch, but at the same time, I mean,
It's
yeah,
happened
right. It's
before,
right.
so
So, I mean, I know that there are some, right, like maybe some U.S. bombers that again, I mean, just right next to Taiwan, but again, at the same time, I mean, it's might not even be bombers, maybe just refueling jets, but Yeah,
You never
again,
know.
I mean, yeah, it's been happening before, so I mean,
Um,
with them, they want to, or China, they want to limit people's access on like video games and whatnot, and then want people to, or they want to reestablish, what it means to be masculine, and then they're basically trying to eradicate all femboys in their country. And
that's
then
fair.
yeah, I mean, a huge argument I see with at least Russian sympathizers is NATO's they them military. Because of how inclusive we are with our military and whatnot.
Hey, speaking of inclusive and not just totally make this podcast about the Ukraine thing, uh, new Supreme Court nomination, Kajani Brown Jackson,
Yeah,
South
I saw
Carolina
that.
Congresswoman, the first black woman on the Supreme Court. Uh,
I mean, I mean, yeah.
some
They were
Republicans have.
nominated. They weren't entirely voted in yet. So I mean,
Well, I thought, well, this is his pick,
yeah. I
so
mean, very first, black woman nominated, which is good. We're making history, but she hasn't entirely been picked yet. There's still like a process. Then wonderful. This is what happens when you have the window open in the cities, right?
that sounds about right.
Yeah.
But
What?
otherwise, I know there's, interestingly enough, this I think ties into the over idea, at least what I think a possible reason why this started to happen now, but the uh, the perspective of Biden from other powerful world leaders' countries. I'm curious, what's the difference between him and Trump on a foreign policy scale and how people view America? As in, okay,
Yeah.
well,
I mean,
how do we interact with you? How do we go forward? What are our perceptions of you?
there's always this narrative of, well, he's clueless and like he just looks like a puppet to his team, and he's just being used.
Alzheimer's, old man Biden, he's
Yeah,
just kind of saying the
which I
script.
mean, in some prospects is fair. So
There's some videos, there's clips of him where he's just fucking out of it. Um, uh, isn't he the oldest ever elected president as
yep,
well?
yep,
So there's an idea, especially with our own country. I mean, it's easier to speak upon our own the average person's thoughts about our own president. I will say at work, I'm pretty sure I've heard so many people talk about, fuck Biden for one various reason or another.
I
He's
mean,
not the
well, at
most
the same,
popular.
you work with a lot of conservatives, so
Well, yeah, it's bias, obviously, but I can
yeah.
only speak to my experience. I can't speak on your experience. That is to say, to overall illustrate my further point, that at least in my small bubble, and it's reaffirming, and even outside of my bubble, there's maybe not as much cult of personality for Biden as there was about Trump to some
Yeah,
extent.
and I mean, even with Obama too, he had his own cult of personality as well.
Yeah, with his people. My idea, I guess, would be the perception that I don't know, a cynical American would have of Biden that he really is just this old man that's just a placeholder for the DOC to really get someone else, or just to have the Democrats have overall control of the office. That he really is just clueless. How would other countries take that? How would they fuck with him? How would they push him, test him? Is this no? Okay, this is just what he says, and it's not really surprising. But again, Trump, I think, posted to his new social media app, Truth, which I still want to download and browse through at some point. That had he been in office, Russia wouldn't have invaded Ukraine.
I mean, wait, are you saying that people that are saying that, or
That's what Trump himself said.
okay? Well, I mean, in one aspect, he's very much correct. I mean, he would 100%. I mean, from what it sounds like, again, we're not living in this timeline, so we don't know for sure. But yeah, he just let them steamroll Ukraine. That's what he said he would do, or he would let them do,
Um,
because he's claimed that it's his land. He has, some connections with businesses in Russia. So, I mean, and he's, yeah, I mean, from, the various clips that I've saw, he, sounded like that it was within his right. He said it was a brilliant idea. So, and then he said he wishes he could do that with our own borders as well.
Jesus.
Where are you finding this?
So it is from a Fox News video. They called him, and then there's at one point too. They were talking about Russia invading Ukraine. He said that wouldn't have ever happened if he was in presidency, and was under the impression that it was the U.S. that was going into Ukraine against Russia. But so I mean, definitely doesn't go without his own dumb fuck moments, because everybody has them. Um, go. This might be the clip. I'm gonna send it to the opinion chat. What the is somebody like?
Someone's probably getting robbed, right? You're in a
Yeah,
city that wanted to do away with a police force, so
fair enough. Yeah. And then I still see like posters of that too. They didn't. I think they rolled back, and then they realized the crime rate went up, which was
yeah, that's what's gonna fucking happen.
yeah, 100%. And then they kind of just started funding more. But at least UMN PD, they I don't think they ever decreased the university police, so which is
Yeah,
good. I
yeah.
mean,
No, the overall. I'm just wondering. I guess other leaders' headspace. I know. It really it does. I don't recall when Trump was elected back in 2016. Any tests, I guess, by other nations. I don't recall any off the top of my head. The highest tension point I remember were things involving North Korea and the fact that he was the first president to set foot on the peace delegation that happened there.
yeah.
I think that was probably the most headlining thing in terms of foreign policy that Trump ever did. Um, from what I think, from what I've seen, and just from his own words, he was very much on the side of, I don't know, just be overly, praising. It's like it's like if you're a political leader and you say, Hitler in his own right was a good political leader, but I mean, you're still praising Hitler to some extent.
Right.
It's
I mean,
not great.
it's
I mean, I can kind of understand where he's coming from to
right.
some extent. I mean, a country that wants more territory, I wouldn't do exactly what he's doing, and it's probably causing a lot more issues. And I don't think he really needs Ukraine for any reason. He just wants it. So I kind of understand. I don't know. Other leaders liked having my opinions. Other leaders wouldn't mind having Trump around for the most part because he can be pleasant to deal with, and he's not overly dismissive of you or your government. He'll work with you. He'll talk with you.
Yeah, I mean, he looks, I guess, at their culture and their, circumstance
Mm.
at the given moment, I guess, in a certain way. In, certain ways, I guess. Yeah. But it's also like he'll go along with it to just because, well, we don't want any trouble with these people, we can keep trading with them, is gonna like keep being with China, their concentration camps, slave labor, child labor, and we're not doing anything because they're helping us economically.
Well, I know, all right. Well, I know he did impose sanctions upon China, but I'm not sure if he cited the morality reasons why, the fact that they're a
Right.
shithole of a country in that sense, as the reason, or if it really was just for other economical, less humanitarian reasons. But I'm curious if
Okay.
this is, I guess, the world, maybe not the world, but the East, if we're going to divide it down to West versus East.
They're doing it
If
to us, so I mean,
if this is, I guess, this is really Biden's first big test of international or of foreign policy.
yeah.
Um, I'm curious. This kind of reminds me a bit of when Kennedy took over after Eisenhower. What happened was, I guess the best way to describe Khrushchev and Eisenhower's relationship was mutual respect between two adversaries. Like, okay, we both understand what positions of power we hold. We understand that, okay, you fuck with me, I'll fuck with you.
Yeah.
I think going into the Kennedy presidency, again, I'm quoting this all from the hardcore history about the atomic age, but Khrushchev had hopes of working with Kennedy. Like, okay, let's see what you can bring to the table, young man. Because again, Kennedy is the youngest ever president at 45.
Yeah.
After the Bay of Pigs invasion and the failure that came with that, though, there was, I think, a noticeable drop in terms of friendliness between the two, in terms of open negotiations or deliberations, just because it was okay. All right, you failed your first test. I think I can kind of I don't have the same respect for my former opponent that I do for you. You're kind of a pushover. You're young. You're a child. Let me do with you what I want. I'm
Yeah.
wondering if Russia is thinking, you're an old man. What are you gonna fucking do?
Yeah. He also has, well, I think Biden has probably more experience with dealing with Russia than Trump has. I mean, obviously, he was, uh, 8 years vice president with Obama, and then Trump. I mean, he dealt with it. They dealt with it in their own ways. What I wouldn't necessarily say that Trump was kind of like a pushover when it came to it in some extent. Yeah. I mean, just yeah. I mean, you do what you want with your countries and the surrounding countries. I'm not going to say anything as long as,
But if it
you
threatens the
benefit.
U.S., yeah. But if such a
Unless it directly threatens us, it doesn't matter. But with, this instance, at least, the shit people are being held accountable. So it could be either way. I mean, I guess we could keep going and, dismissing it so we don't, have any direct confrontation like we do now. Or I guess it's not direct yet, but I mean, to some extent it is. Or we could just, just keep letting it happen until what? Until eventually they have direct, uh, we're faced directly with them. They have more land and their economy is, and we're still funding it. So,
yeah. I'm curious as to where the end game for either side really lies. I think I'm curious if the situation won't ever be resolved until both sides willingly state that, okay, you make the big move and we're ending it. It reminds me of the self-defense video we did on TikTok. And you end things. You're safe now. Except you're
yeah,
not safe. I was again quoting hardcore history. It was a video talking about the atomic age. Reading up on some of the survivorship accounts or just people that were there for Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Fucking horrific.
yeah,
Uh, to just get a small example, a sister, she had heard a sound and jumped out of a window, but her other one was no, okay. One sister was in the bathroom and was fine for the most part. The other sister was outside. Uh, her skin starting to fall off, having her on her back and having to put her eye back into her socket.
yep,
It was just as fucked as it gets. And she survived for 9 days. The people seeing someone's shadow imprinted on the ground. It was horrific stuff. And here's the real kicker. Those were atomic bombs. I think the years following, people again from the Manhattan Project were thinking, okay, this is escalation. The Soviets are going to build nuclear weapons. We need to get more powerful nuclear weapons. Thus came the thermonuclear weapon, which some
thermobaric.
yeah, something like 20 times, 50 times stronger than the stuff dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That is to say that the nuclear weapons that we have today are ridiculous, a complete overkill. I'm sure you can look at that website Nuke Map, and you can find the highest one, the Tsar Bomba, whatever it is, the largest ever designed, not tested, but the largest ever designed nuclear weapon. But that's just what's been made public. I refuse to believe that the three superpowers of the world stopped increasing the scale just because they know if we stop and they continue to do it, they can technically cover more land than we can, and
Yeah,
especially with the U.S.'s military budget. it just goes to show, um, there are no winners. I remember thinking to myself a few days ago, you know what? Why doesn't it'd be kind of cool if the president just walked up on stage. Okay, you do something, you advance further, and then we're escalating this into nuclear warfare.
Yeah, it's
You
kind
know,
of
but
like in the Bill Burr podcast. He's doing segments of people on banks, with bank robbers just recently, and one thing that he's kind of just a scenario that he's come up with. What if someone came up to a bank, said that they had a gun and a note piece of paper, handed it to the other person, and then the person on the receiving end just wrote on the piece of paper, "Go fuck yourself," and then handed it back. It'd be
yeah,
pretty much just that.
it'd be cool. But again, it's another thing to think it'd be cool spoken words, but also
Yeah, at
that
the same time, this is like you don't know what the fuck is going on in his head. He would probably take that as a okay. You don't think I'll do it?
yeah, no, it's a rough situation. Again, talking about former presidencies, Truman, Eisenhower, and Kennedy in particular, they were facing a lot of bad poll press
Yep.
during these wartime conflicts and a lot of political pressure. There was, I don't remember, I think it was during Truman's administration before the Soviets actually had nuclear capability, but they suggested the idea, why don't we just take them out right now before they can actually do shit? Uh, there was a lot of political pressure from parties to use these nuclear weapons, oftentimes at various moments. I know Truman threatened to use it multiple times. I'm sure Eisenhower did. Um, basically, the people in presidency, they never have an easy job when it comes to this because there is own parties and infighting, and then public opinion, which can be severely uneducated, to put it lightly. Thinking, okay, well, why don't you just nuke them? Why don't you just do this? Why don't you just do that? Oh, you didn't do that? Well, fuck you. I don't want to vote for you.
I mean, whoever is the one who starts it and initially launches it, they have to. It comes with that knowledge of, okay, I'm signing humanity's death warrant right now.
Yeah.
So definitely not fun. Something I looked up. This is on Wikipedia. Thermobaric weapon. It's a thermobaric weapon or aerosol bomb or vacuum bomb is a type of explosive that uses oxygen from the surrounding air to generate a high temperature explosion. I believe what most conventional explosives consist of fuel oxidizer premix. Black powder, for example, contains 25% fuel and 75% oxidizer. This is like, rocket ship shit as well. But
Yeah.
thermobaric weapons are almost 100% fuel, and so are significantly more energetic. Yeah, so it's like 100% fuel, and then uses the air around it as oxidizer, which I don't know how the fuck it does that, but that's insane. Because thermo obviously means heat, so I mean
Yeah.
it just vaporizes fucking anything.
I know, again, talking about the structure of these bombs, the width of these fireballs, the temperatures that they can reach, I think this approaching or matching the surface of the sun inside the worst of it. It's just
I would have doubted.
no, it's been scientifically proven that that's what they reach.
Yeah, I mean,
It,
at the same time, if hopefully you're in the center of it, if you have to deal with it at all, because
oh
then
yeah,
you won't
you're
feel
not
it.
gonna. Yeah, there's gonna be no pain. If I was gonna be in a nuclear blast, I would rather be in the very center.
If I had to be in it at all, yeah, I'd rather be in the very center because yeah, I mean nuclear fallout, that's not fun.
Well, I suppose yeah. Between if there's still an option where I can live as long as my life is, but I'm gonna probably develop cancers and have a sort of miserable life, but still somewhat okay life, I'd take that. But if I'm just gonna die due to poisoning or my body
If
fucking
I'm going
melt
to
on me,
right, if I'm gonna eventually die, save me the fucking pain at that point because it's cancer is fucking brutal.
but no, it's just the scale. They're massive. The tensions behind it, the idea behind it, it's I think the world to some extent has forgot. there again, another concept that this podcast talked about. Since all of us on this podcast have been born, we've had a gun to our head, in the sense that the entire world has always been ready to end it all at a moment's notice in case the other person does something.
Yeah.
When the world was first getting the gun pointed at it, it was fucking terrifying. People were I can't imagine what the stress would have been like for an average citizen in the 60s during the Cuban Missile Crisis when
Yep.
all signs pointed to warfare. But we've grown up with this idea that, sure, tensions are high, we don't really like each other, we're not good. But I mean, if they kill us, we're going to kill them.
Yeah.
We're just born into the fear. So people, I, I feel confident in saying making the assertion that people have forgotten the scale. I guess the leaders that be presidential, I should say, have forgotten the scale of to which they're using the threats that they're using and how much of it actually affects.
Well, I think what we need to do is petition Bethesda to just send a copy of Fallout 4 to Putin, and then
All right, all right. They might actually kill us because I think they'd actually be fucking annoyed at that insult of a gift.
or just send it to Vice, or what is it called? Yeah, Vice City Fallout. Fallout.
That's mod. Vice City Fallout isn't a thing.
That was a joke. I was trying to remember what the fuck that.
Fallout 76?
No, the older one.
New Vegas?
New Vegas.
Yeah, that one, you know what? Maybe that game could bring world peace. All right, maybe it could.
Here we go. Yeah, we'll just send him a copy of New Vegas. But yeah, that's
It
no. I mean, I think we also lost the concept of what war is. I mean, until now, until we see, like, I mean, this is one of the first conflicts that we're getting updated. Like on Twitter, there's like invasions you can just watch on a street cam.
again,
We've
yeah,
also
with TikTok, the amount of content that I see on there and the amount of disturbing or actual war content, people again, this goes into like you hear about Vietnam, you see the photos,
yeah.
and even during Afghanistan, you can see some videos, but they're not great quality. They're either really high up in the air. You don't see someone with GoPro level quality getting their fucking house bombed at with a missile.
And it's not like directly the person either. Like it just like it's published. It's on like public archives. Like okay, somebody took this, but the person who's affected is posting it, and then like oh shit, this is a real person who just went through this. That aspect as well. So I mean, it's less covered up. I mean, definitely, but like back in the early 2000s, you'd still see videos and whatnot, but again, they'd be low quality. They'd be kind of just out there. They'd be on like sites like what's that one site that shut down recently?
Uh,
Like
Silk Road, Live Leak.
Live Leak, that's what it is. Yeah. So that
That
one
shut
was
down?
yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was just like this year.
May 7th. May 7th. I'm seeing an article that it shut down.
So last year then.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
In its place is Item Fix, a site that bans users from uploading media content, excessive violent or gory content.
Okay. Okay, so I mean, yeah, I mean that's it used to be on just like primarily those websites, and like you it would be like covered up, and then much like World War II, where definitely more exceedingly rare. The more it's covered up, the more it's like sought after, and like this is a masculine urge to want to go to war, or like this is like romanticized.
It
You
really
get
is.
to you
Yeah.
get to go and almost kill yourself, catch PTSD, and then you get to go home to your loving wife who probably fucked like 17 people while you were gone because you were gone for so long.
I mean, it's the role of the government to romanticize war because why the fuck else would anyone ever want to do it if they really understood? Okay, they're killing someone, and they're gonna do their damnedest to kill you. Your friend, you might have to hear him fucking gurgle up his blood as he gets shot in the neck. You might
Yeah.
have to see innocent people die. A good thought experiment that a video I was watching. Imagine you're in a war. Picture, close your eyes. Imagine the face of all of your loved ones, all of your friends, and just imagine seeing them slowly die. I like to think I have a good imagination, so it was a bit disturbing to think. That's what it could be like. There isn't any romance, there isn't any glory. There's nothing fun about being that kind of Sigma lone male wolf. Oh yeah, all my friends died. That's why I'm lonely.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound fun. it makes for great characters in fiction. But I think it should stay fiction because we can learn from that. We can see the pitfalls of it.
Yeah. No, but it's becoming increasingly, at least, for people actually in service again. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the future lies at this point, but it's, yeah, I couldn't imagine what it's like for Ukrainians, especially, they're defending their, I couldn't just imagine, let's
Yeah,
say, just randomly, Canada, they're somehow a bigger superpower than we are, and then they just start invading. Like, Hutch, imagine the town you're in now.
yeah.
It's being invaded, like your home.
What do you do?
It's, I mean, obviously you want to, like, you don't want to leave. You want to protect, what you've lived in all your life. So, just, I don't know, just fucking imagining that.
It's again, I think all superpowers have really forgotten because we've gotten so used to these proxy wars, this Cold War. I feel like, especially leaders that are in charge, and even people that were alive during World War II, there's not as many as there once was, and all that's left
Yeah.
is accounting of history. But as we all know, experiences that are, things that are experienced or seen in person are far more impactful than reading pages off of a textbook. I've read about the Holocaust and I understand what happened, and it sounds awful, but for me, it's it really is just an event in history.
Yeah.
It's not a real. All right, it's a real thing. I'm not going to Alex Jones moment myself here.
Yeah.
It actually happened, but it didn't happen for me.
Well, you didn't have to personally go through it. So, I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, it's less of an impact, obviously. I mean, or just like, any event that happened before you were born or while you're young and you just didn't experience it at all. It's things you aren't directly confronted with. So, I mean, you take it not with a grain of salt, but like, yeah, you take it less face value than those who are actually affected. So those who are actually affected have more of a say or a more of a stance on it than you would ever in a whole lifetime.
I would if I gotten a chance to sit in a room with Putin and try and talk to him about this. I think one of my opening lines of arguments would be, "Look at how your predecessors handled these situations. Cold War almost turning hot, nuclear Armageddon at a push of a button. Look at how they handled it. Look at what it forced them to do. They came into it, leader of their country. We're not backing down. The other guy's gonna blink first." But this happened on both sides, where realizing the weight and the implication and the fact that okay, we might actually have to do this. It maybe to non-psychopaths, I feel like it would have to at least give them a moment of pause.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing it to him, it's not going to phase him at all, especially since you're a Westerner. So, I mean,
I
I
can
think
tell him
there's
I can pass as German. I mean, I have the body weight for it.
fair, but I mean, you're still Western then.
Yeah. I think I mean, he met with French President or Prime Minister Emmanuel Macron.
Oh, he'll definitely meet with people who oppose
Oh, yeah,
Putin.
he's like
But I
Mac,
mean,
all right? Yeah, all right. We're dug in, all right, and they're trying to assassinate my character. These
exactly.
liberals,
That's exactly what the fuck this is. This is just a Mac war.
no, that would be my biggest point. Was your predecessors in worse situations than what you're in? They backed down, and so did ours, because they realized the implications, the weight, all the progress that we've made as a civilization, the pinnacle of our species, maybe something akin to like the ISS or some space achievement, whatever. The thousands of years it took for human innovation, technological advancement, the wars, the people that died for all of us to get here.
Yeah.
You're gonna spit on all of that human struggle and suffering, and just bring us back down to square one.
or just square zero. I mean,
Yeah,
really depends on how much we can sustain ourselves with that. Between nuclear winter and you know, I mean, I think we have enough geological heat, but I mean,
it's there wouldn't be recovering from it because the fallout from it, taking away a massive amount of the land, the Earth, it would never be the same.
exactly.
It
So
would
yeah,
be
it is 100% just spitting on them, going back to square one, or going to zero.
it's a quote famously attributed to Albert Einstein, but who fucking knows if it actually is? But again, it's a great quote. Um, I know not the weapons that World War III will be fought with, but I know that World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. It's just that idea.
Yeah,
Another conflict. We've reached a point where this kind of ties in, I think, to some of our previous episodes, where what happens when you give an adult the ability to make dangerous decisions for themselves and can they be trusted with it? This was an argument brought up by Robert Oppenheimer, someone who I think was one of the lead researchers on the Manhattan Project, was
yep,
we've given humanity, we've given children this big ass stick that can fucking crack another kid's head open and kill him. Can you be trusted? What are you going to do with it?
I mean, that's 100% true. I mean, he gave it to us, and we, the people who, like Putin, he was a child when he was, when I forgot when he was born. I think it was like, in the 50s. So essentially, I mean, he was a child when it was created, and implemented. So essentially, just giving these future world leaders, yeah, this annihilation weapon.
How do they handle it? How does an adult handle being able to buy cocaine from Walmart? How do world leaders handle having access to nuclear weapons in territorial disputes?
Exactly. Humans can't be trusted. But yeah, it's like absolute power that you're given. You can't, no doubt about it. If you're given power, no matter how moral you think you are, you're going to abuse it. So whether these threats are empty or not, I mean, he's still abusing his power by, you
Absolutely.
know,
The scary thing is that in order for any of these threats to be effective, is that he has to be able to sit down with himself and whoever is there with him, and all of them reasonably should have to come to consensus that, okay, we might have to follow up. We might have to.
imagine just sitting down and then just like being all professional, have your suit and tie on, drinking a glass of water, talking professionally about, yeah, all right, I think humanity should come to an end. I'm going to make that decision.
That's literally Kennedy started recording some of his meetings in the 60s because people started to hate him and he started to hate them. So he
Yeah.
just started to record it. It was exactly that. They talked about it in a professional tone. It's like, all right, Sarah, how's the report coming? Professional tone. The things that they're talking about, it can go from either making you want to fall asleep or it can, give you shivers.
Yeah.
It's discussing the end of the world in a caviar or cavalier tone. It's interesting.
You know what I hate is that instead of increasingly younger presidents, we keep getting increasingly older. Like Trump was the oldest president before Biden, and then now Biden's here.
Yeah.
When are we gonna get like a younger Kennedy again? You know,
30 years from now when all of them die out or just too old to run, we're fucked. The younger people that have the possibility, the potential to not be so dug in their ways, to have been raised in this digital age, maybe where
if
empathy is more common, maybe the
yeah,
hope, where it's going to get cut short by war hawks.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
how
that's
would
the
you
cynic.
how would you feel if this is your last year on Earth, 2022?
Do I get the rest of the year, or is it just like I get the rest of this month?
January 1st, 2023. That's our that's our expiration date. How would you feel? Like you
Sure.
only got to live to your early 20s. Everybody else, the people who actually pressed the button, they got to live, nearly full lives, if not their full lives.
I think if that were true, if that was a done deal, that would be probably one of the most terrifying and infuriating things, but also freeing. in a way.
Yeah,
There's so many
fair.
things that I'm, aware in the back of my mind. I have time to do. I have a lifetime to do it. I
Yeah.
can wait. I don't need to rush it. I think isn't there something similar, or maybe I'm just thinking of a movie where someone's given a terminal diagnosis, and then suddenly they want to make some money for their family, and they start using the skills that they have to cook meth, and then what do you know? They get one of the best. They lived a life. If I got a
Yeah.
sentence like that, I'd try and treat my life like a Walter White. Maybe not in the cooking meth because I don't know how to cook crystal meth, but in the
just doing what the fuck you want.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
really kind of, puts our personal projects in perspective. Like, at least we got to work on them.
what would what would you be able to say that you've done with your life that you can really say that you feel proud of?
That's a good question. Probably, the thing that probably most is probably sadly going to be, personal projects in this podcast because, school shit, sure, I was a good boy and I got decent grades.
Mhm.
But I mean, that means jack shit.
That's fair. I
This is like I worked probably, got the furthest on. I don't think any work that I do in college is gonna really matter. I mean, unless, until I would get a degree, but I mean, until then, it's not really much of an accomplishment.
I guess I feel lucky by comparison because I have at least what 3 things I can say that in my life I've met the most amazing person I think I could have ever met. I've had uh I mean, everyone has their best day of their life, but I feel like mine's just a bit more different than a typical person's best day of their life, just because I had drugs to enhance mine, and it made me value, it made me really appreciate, I guess, how pretty everything is and how stimulating that can be to the mind and how I never want that to end. Um, I guess the third thing that I've done with my life, you know, maybe I only have 2 things. I've met the most amazing person I think I ever could meet in my life, and I had a really, really fucking great day, August 12th. That's about it so far.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that really puts things in perspective for me, as in, these are, I mean, still accomplishments for me. Like, the kind of technical perspective, I didn't know about, streaming and what I've been working on a year ago from what I know now. I know slightly better how to work with people. That's definitely something that's always going to be developing. And yeah, that's, I guess, just learning stuff. Um, Making music, I think that's a big accomplishment for me. Like, not really like getting someone to help me work on it, like a tutor or anything. Just doing it from scratch, just doing what I think sounds good, and then actually making stuff that sounds decent. Surprised me after I made it, and now I have a way to make things I want. But yeah, I mean, makes me actually definitely want to do more, especially with stuff right now. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like absolute right now. I mean, there are supposedly some talks, but I mean, if we're talking about like someone who is literally thirsty for power and will do what he can to obtain it, then I mean, it's not, the cards aren't looking or in our favor that much.
I mean, that's fair. The Americans back in the 40s got lucky, I guess, when Stalin had a heart attack or stroke or something.
Yeah,
They had a bit
we
of luck there.
we can only hope.
I doubt it. Medical technology is so much more advanced these days.
That's true. Well, that and someone who agrees with him will probably just take position, and it'll just be, oh well,
Probably.
you thought it would be gone. Well, I still agree with him. But yeah, I looked into that quote. It is quoted from him, like on Wikipedia and whatnot. But Snopes says that it's unconfirmed. So
Mm.
definitely, we don't know who said it, but it is related to Einstein. And I think, you know what, might as well just keep it that way. Just like propaganda makes it more powerful
It
if it
makes
comes
him,
from him.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. I think he was responsible for working on the Manhattan Project and other things involving nuclear power due to
Yeah.
how smart he was. So it makes sense, but I don't know. Maybe I just don't associate scientists with being human. That's the interesting thing. Scientists can either be the biggest humanitarians or the most disgusting psychopaths of all time.
Yeah.
Um, in the psychopath direction, I think of people like Joseph Mengele, Angel of Death of Germany,
Yep.
or Unit 731 from Japan. Not
Yep.
scientists. Well, probably led by a scientist, yeah.
I mean, definitely 100%. They're either too curious. I mean, it's not bad to be, questioning things and being curious about it. The way you do it plays a huge
Well,
factor.
like, do you really need to know what happens when you hold a hot rod of metal to a human's eye? What
Exactly.
does that give you? What does that give you?
Right.
What practical information or situation is that information going to be useful for?
Right. I mean, it's some of it was just done. Well, some
It-
is used lightly here. Most of it
yeah,
was just done because of, cruelty. Just because they can. They're in the position to. They're being funded. So why not? Let's just make up these fake projects and torture people.
absolute
Because we
power.
think that they're inferior. So yeah, I mean I'd like to think, Einstein, Oppenheimer, those were they were probably in the moral, in a good moral path,
Yeah,
but what they did, what they did was, they saved a lot of lives by decimating a lot of lives. So, I mean, the fact that they regretted it and at least they said they did, I think speaks. So,
I mean, I think at some point or another, it was bound to happen. Someone was bound to find out about this technology. Maybe it would have
right.
happened during the Vietnam War. Maybe more American lives would have been lost in the conquering of Japan, making them surrender.
Yeah. Well, I know definitely Germany was already developing it or trying to find ways to develop it. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, it was definitely a us or them situation.
What I
And if
remember
it was them,
hearing,
they'd
you know,
be less regrettable when they'd use it.
from what I remember hearing, um, that was the fear of American scientists at the time in the Manhattan Project that we have to do this before they do.
Yeah.
After the fact, they found out that they had they were nowhere close in terms of the actual bomb, but in terms of delivery method, the V2 rocket, they had far surpassed, most other countries, hence Operation Paperclip, German rocket scientists being used for space programs due to their
Yep.
expertise. So the Germans had the payload delivery, just not the payload.
Yeah. Yeah, I think at one point they're working on hard water bombs, which wasn't going very good, and
Mm.
they eventually might have been too late, or they might have subbed the hard water bombs for nuclear because they found out that that was too hard. But they were working on that, and then they didn't get very far with that either. Much like their jet engine planes as well. I mean, it's just sucked up so much fuel, and even if they had completed that project, they probably wouldn't have won the war anyway. So
I thought of
yeah,
another fun experiment. If I could get a room full of a couple of world leaders, let's put Putin, put Biden, let's put Angela Merkel, if she's still the PM of Germany, Boris, Emmanuel Macron, even the prominent European leaders and Asian leaders and American leader, all in a room, and I can share a bowl with them, or I can take a tab with them all. I'd be curious. That would be the perfect science experiment. See how the people with so much power walk away after an experience like that.
Well, I know the old ones would just get a heart attack right away.
You know what? Problem solved as well.
Yeah. Jesus. I mean, I don't know. I mean, definitely, unless you're forcing them to do it, it's gonna be like, yeah, no,
Well,
I'm
yeah,
good.
no, they never would. It would just be a fun experiment. I don't know. Maybe all they need to do is just have a fun night of drinking together.
Why not just UFC fight instead of killing a bunch of innocent, people of your own countries and using them like pawns? You just, head to head, king versus king.
I mean, I'm gonna say that's unfair in Putin's favor because he was ex-KGB.
He knows judo. He was ex KGB. I mean, eventually someone's got to take him down.
Well, yeah, I'm sure there's probably a couple of current day leaders that would know something, but like,
Yeah.
who do you think's gonna win, Biden or fucking Putin?
Okay.
It's
That's yeah.
just not fair.
Putin's
Now, if
younger
we
too.
elected Joe Rogan as president,
That's good. Yeah.
I was thinking, you raised up a good point. So we had those scientists that delivered us the weapons to consider ourselves angel of deaths for billions of people, but there are also humanitarians. Who are our current day humanitarians? Um, I'm biased, but anytime I hear Joe Rogan talk about conflicts and whatnot, it's always a. I mean, to boil it down, it really is just peace is he's not a very nationalistic person or my country is better, we should invade yours.
Yeah. I mean, you can also take, the easy ones like Elon Musk, I guess. I mean, I don't know how much of a humanitarian he is other than,
Well,
he's
he
giving Ukrainians internet access recently,
he
or at
gave
least
you
he's going to
yeah.
work on it.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. Didn't he donate like 6.5 billion to end world hunger because someone said that that's all it would take to end world hunger, and he
That
said,
that happened, and then I want to know the result of that because
yeah,
he said, if you give full transparency of how you use it and see, how you're, I want to watch, I want to see what happens with my
yeah.
money. I want to know the results of that, but I think that would be increasingly difficult to find.
I think he's a good example of a humanitarian. I mean,
I
a
mean, I
lot of
don't.
rich people
Right,
are, but I mean, it's how much is it humanitarian because they're humanitarian versus hey, this makes my public image look good. So
right. So I mean, when it comes to that, I mean, I don't really think Joe Rogan or Elon Musk. I think any scientist affiliated with NASA, pretty much just pretty neutral on things, and
but they're not popular.
just
That's the issue.
yeah. You didn't say
Einstein,
popular humanitarians though.
well, they
So
kind of have to be popular because if they're not, you can be all the humanitarian you want, but you're never going to get your ideas across to
yeah,
people.
I mean Jeff
Einstein
Bezos
got
is
his
pop.
ideas.
I think Jeff Bezos is a humanitarian. He donates stuff.
I
What's
think
up?
he's the modern day capitalist slave worker or slave maker. He
Yeah,
is.
there we go.
You don't get to be that rich without fucking
Yeah,
a good couple of people over in
I mean
some sense.
it's the idea of power. I mean you get so much money, especially in a capitalistic society. You essentially own the fucking nation at that point. Modern day Lex Luthor. Luthor.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Your mom actually reacted to my comment. Looks like an off-brand Bill Burr. She found that funny, and she responded, "Lol was not in Hutchinson. Lol, sure." And the band told the backstory of the history of a particular song and this behavior. There was even one girl who removed her shirt, I guess. Why the fuck are you okay?
All
All right.
right. I think that's quite a interesting twist, or I guess turn of events away from what we were talking about. But yeah,
Oh, I don't think we should all make it all doom and gloom. We need
yeah,
to,
that's true. I mean, we were talking about humanitarians. I mean, that's not really doom and gloom, but I
but
mean,
like,
at the same time, I
name
mean,
me a humanitarian.
exactly. At least like a humanitarian that does good for the sake of doing good.
Yeah, that's widely known. I mean, there's sadly not a lot of prominent people that easily come to mind, and I think
Yeah.
that's an issue. Is that there needs to be people that you can easily think, okay, they come to mind.
I
You have,
mean, some of it is also, I mean, you won't really know until after the fact. I mean, I want to know how much people knew about Einstein or Oppenheimer while there is during World War II itself. I mean, it's
Yeah. I
yeah,
guess the difference, though, is that we should have a far easier time conveying this information because we live in the digital era.
right. So I mean, it should come up
Hmm.
more. I mean,
I mean, I got a good one, Mr. Beast.
I guess yeah, nothing national. I mean, more private, smaller, humanitarian help, I guess, to people. I mean, which is good. I mean, I'll take anything I can get. He seems like a good person, especially with his trash in the ocean projects, which they're not really making a dent. But I mean, I'd rather have someone do something than nothing at all. Or at least I don't know if they're making a dent. I wouldn't imagine it would.
Probably not. We can think about that as well. If we send ourselves to nuclear winter, think about all the other life we're throwing away. Besides just our human lives, which world leaders never seem to care about anyway.
Just imagine right out of COVID. You can
It, yeah,
Yeah, I know I already said it, alright. I don't plan on profiting off of this anyway. Otherwise that would be really taking advantage of current day, crises. Eugenics from Hillybilly. Or
what?
Hillbilly. He just said eugenics, that's it.
What about wait, someone in the YouTube chat?
Yeah.
What the fuck
Was
up?
it
What
was
about
this
eugenics?
was that about Japanese? What?
Interesting. No,
Um I mean I know
it is sad the world has a chance,
yeah.
and I'm still saying has, a chance to, really come out of a tumultuous time for the entire globe on all fronts. It seems like things are winding down. Things are a bit under control, but now another situation has the world grabbed by the balls.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't sit well with you sometimes. I mean when you start thinking about it.
It does, but I saw a great so again, TikTok, there's all this content about it. I
Right.
saw one that was just basically, "Hey, you're a standard civilian. You can't control anything. It's not good to read up too much about it because you can't unless you're a person in power, you can't do anything." And that's terrifying, but it's also, I think, something that we do every day in our lives. You get in your car to go to work. You don't know if you're gonna slip on ice, if you're gonna spin out and die.
Yeah.
You don't know. You just
At
hope that
least
you
some
don't.
of it is like at least like illusion of control though. Like, well, I could if I, really tried, I could straighten out my car if I slid on ice. But stuff like, tornadoes and whatnot, those, have absolutely no control over. That is the shit. I think that's probably my biggest fear is, not having control of a situation. And like I have like no matter what I do, I'm not no, I can't do anything.
It's interesting.
And it's
So
just going to decide my fate no matter what. But yeah, that's
this seems like the situation then that would really be eating away at your anxiety.
well, I mean, there are steps I can take. I mean, I guess if I really wanted to throw money at preparation, but at the same time, if you were to survive, why would you want to survive? If, assuming this whole thing does happen.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
mean,
I like to think of myself more aware of this illusion of control. It's an interesting experience. Like typically, I'll wake up an hour before I go to work. At least every now and then, at least for the past like 2 weeks. I'm not sure why, but I've been thinking about my own mortality. I could die on my way to work, or I could have a
yeah,
heart attack, or something terrible can happen. And I'd just be fucked. I can't do anything about it. I have things that I think I can do to avoid the risks, to take safety precautions, but there's always that. Well, by the law of averages, something is eventually bound to fuck you over.
yeah.
You can't.
You can't evade death forever. It's,
Yeah, I think. Luckily, at least to meet current me, I got a lot of my anxiety about. Okay, well, not entirely. It was a long process, but the very beginning of like this realization about your own mortality. I don't know when you two discovered it or thought about it, But for me, it really started to pop into my mind after seeing a YouTube video talking about what happens if the sun explodes. And it just showed a video of basically the sun absorbing the earth. It was some ludicrous, dumb fuck video,
Yeah.
but that terrified me as a child. I remember it got really bad to the point where anytime a cloud overtook the sun, I would just think, well, that's it. 7 minutes from now, I'm dead. Or what if I'm dead? I have no way of knowing. I can't stop it. What if it happens? What if I'm going to die? What if these last few seconds? And this would be constant. There was a mental game I developed to stop myself from thinking of this. Think of tree. Think of a tree. Picture a tree. All right, picture a tree. Think of a tree.
Yeah.
Tree. Tree. I would just have to hard reset myself in order to think about something else.
For me, I just let it linger, and then and then eventually I just go through the process of just accepting it, and then and then it just like kind of shrivels away. At
I
least
never, yeah,
I mean, it never really absolutely leaves, but it's always just what if,
I could never let
and
it.
then yeah. I mean, I think mortality definitely hit me was when classmate of mine when I was in middle school. My parents, we weren't definitely disconnected from their religion, but again, I went to a Christian Lutheran school when I was like, you know, preschool through second grade.
Mm.
Went to, went through that, and yeah, and then middle school, not really, fully believing it. We're not going to church regularly, but still, I mean, just having an underlying thought that, oh well, I have a place to go if I'm gonna die. And then, somebody, at school I was friends with at the time, they were atheists, like 100%. And then I asked them, where do you think, what's gonna happen when we die, when we would die? And then they just told me they would 100% just believe, yeah, just nothing.
Fuck.
Yeah,
This is some kid your age.
yeah. It was Caleb. It was
Caleb. Uh, shit.
their name was Daphne at the time.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah, isn't that their name?
Yeah.
Okay,
Wait, you
yeah,
two knew
that's
each other in second grade?
no, not second grade, and middle school. Like it just
Oh,
kind of lingered with me since second grade, and then
mhm.
in middle school, I asked them, and they believed, yeah, that they just there's nothing after death, and that just kind of like, what if that's true? And then that kind of just sat with me for a long time,
I
and like
remember, yeah, same thing. We had this, I think it was start of seventh grade, maybe, this get to know each other project where you and a partner ask questions in front of the classroom, basically. One of our former guests, Livy the Small One, they were my partner at the time, and I think one of the questions are, what are your thoughts about life after death, basically. My answer was as, edgy and cynical as a seventh grader can be. I think there's nothing that happens after death, and religion is just to try and ease human anxiety into thinking that it's okay to die. It
yeah,
was as edgy as it fucking gets. But I still kind of think I'm right, to some
yeah.
extent.
I mean, definitely, uh, there is no proof that there is anything after death, yet at the same time, there is no proof that there isn't anything, or that there is anything. But yeah, that's religion. Whether what happens after you die is true or not, religion is definitely just created as a comforter. To create explanations for things that we don't know, and was probably the most logical thing to go to before science was a thing. To just assume that there's a bigger deity, and because we like we're a connection finding species, I guess, or there's a better term for it, but we like to
What do you
find,
mean?
yeah,
We
we
want
we
to know
like
the
to,
why.
yeah, we like to find connections. There's a reason why there's thunder in the sky. Well, it's probably because we made someone angry. So
It's
I mean,
loud, it's
it's,
violent, it's scary. Someone must be mad. Yeah.
yeah, or just like what like medical doctors back in the day, what they did was, you know something that was shaped like the head or the brain, like a walnut, well, you eat that for a headache because it's shaped like a brain. It's meant to cure stuff that happens for the head.
That's funny as
That
shit.
yeah, that that used to be a legitimate like medical practice. Is that if it looks like what it cures, then that's what it cures. So
What if they were right though? All right.
what if they were right? I mean, again, that just shows that we, as a species, we just kind of throw shit. You know, we throw shit at a wall until it works, until it breaks, and then we figure it out. And then
Yeah, I mean it is true. It's also fun to think of like how do you unravel that process. So okay, let's do a thought experiment here. What is the world made up of? On a physical level, what is every single thing made up of?
every thing made up of out of obviously atoms.
Yeah, what Molly said, atoms.
Yeah.
Um, how do we know the atoms are real?
I mean, there's various experiments that you can do on it. I'm not clear on what they've done before you could actually, use an electron microscope to see it. But
To see what? What is that electron microscope? What is that made of? How do we what is it showing us that only we can see?
atoms,
But how do we know that there isn't
well,
something else there?
light of atoms that's being reflected from it.
I guess how do we know what we're seeing is true, or if that's the entire picture?
Yeah, I mean,
Were either of you there for the free lunch thing where the conversation was why everything fits so perfect is because God created it that way? Like car parts.
What?
Yeah, they use car parts as an example
Okay.
as to why why God
I
exists.
that's gotta have been like kind of like a crude example. Like, I
Ah,
mean,
There was also
obviously it's
one where they said God there's more proof that God exists than George Washington.
all right. Yeah, that one went a
okay.
Someone
bit
at
too far. I
free
remember
lunch
that.
said that.
All right.
No, it wasn't
Or
someone
the
who said
speaker.
that. I believe that was the actual speaker. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
I
was.
I wish I could remember this, or if I was there for that. That's fucking insane.
It was my first time going to it, so I don't know if either of you were there or not.
And all right, that we allow brainwashing.
Yeah, I mean it's. I don't think. I'm trying to think of. I mean, trying to think of shit and you know nature that fits perfectly together.
I thought you said I'm trying to
That
take a
was.
shit. I
Yeah,
just
I'm trying to take a shit right now, guys. I took it to the stall.
nice.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, things in nature. I mean, just how the land is laid out. I mean, I guess that fits. But like, we
but I mean
fit
that's
better
because
when
they
we were
broke off.
Pangea.
Yeah,
We fit
that's
better when we were Pangea. So
we figured out why they fit together is because they were parts of each other. But yeah, I mean it's
I'd want
obviously car parts are fucking made that way. I mean
I'd want
that's
to ask him.
kindergarten argument right there. But
I wish someone would have asked him on the spot. So God made this building. So what about the people that made it? What do you say to them? Did
yeah,
God act through them? The microphone that you're holding is. Do we have any free will if God is constantly acting
yeah,
through
that's
us?
why that's why I don't like when somebody wins the Super Bowl. Like I thank God for this. Well, like what about the other side? I mean, I've heard this argument before. Did they ever blame God because they lost?
I wish someone would that be. No, anytime I ever hear that argument or piece, it always just you're subtracting from someone that actually did work based on your beliefs. If you can think it to yourself, that's fine, but don't try and say that it's taking credit for someone else's work. All
Yeah.
right,
No, if you believe it, great. You found, solace in something that some other people just don't find comfort in, and for their own reasons and, various beliefs. So, I mean, it's a fine line of just letting people do what the fuck or believe whatever the fuck they want to believe and you know, if you if you do that with You have to be careful with that, though. 'Cause, yeah, I mean, if you want to do that with like flat earthers, and we just kept going with the narrative, yeah, I mean, if you want to believe that, go ahead. You have the right to. Instead
But
of
you're
calling them just like an outright dumb fuck, then
well,
yeah, I mean,
I understand calling them a dumb fuck because they are, but
right,
you also I am starting to disagree with the idea that you don't even have to argue dumb ideas because of how stupid they are,
yeah,
because that's just further fuel for the other side. And if your argument is as proof or as solid as you think it is, then it shouldn't be an issue. Which, in the
exactly.
case of flat Earth, I think it is pretty fucking abundant.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think you know, it's not a hot take to say that it is a dumb fuck thing to believe, but at the same time, I like that there are conspiracy theorists out there. I like that there are people, questioning, common things or
Yeah. They're the
I mean,
embodiment
it's
of human curiosity, which
yeah.
is what I think humans are best at is curiosity.
By the way, the person who said eugenics popped in, and then as soon as we questioned them, they left. So
Or they're not very curious.
yeah. Hey, which is good. The good thing is that we haven't seen a Russian bot, which is very ironic in this stream.
They're all
So
focused on Ukraine.
yeah, we probably blocked from from the algorithm because we're talking about Ukraine.
If that's the case, then I'd question Google's allegiances.
Exactly. I should have put it in like the description, but at the same time, I don't want to fucking profit whether profit off of other people's hardships. So I think just keeping it kind of how people have like black profile pictures. They know it's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Well,
I
who
guess
knows?
you're showing your support, but
Maybe this is our breakthrough episode, and we end the war.
maybe Putin listens to this. In which case, I
What if
saw
he's
this wonderful.
lonesome?
What?
Hmm?
What if he's lonesome Lenny?
What if he's Lonesome Lenny?
No, what if he's the one who just posted eugenics and just left? That'll be wonderful.
That's his answer to everything.
Yeah.
No, I mean, come on. If he's listening, I think you'd really get your scientists, bring them there. I know you have LSD somewhere in your country. Call the other leaders. I'll be there. I'll be the trip sitter. I mean, I'll take it with you, so I won't be like a sober trip sitter. But I think it'd
No,
be a good idea.
no, genuinely, if he's listening, yeah, I saw this wonderful post. It was someone holding a sign, and it said, "Skip to the part where you shoot yourself in a bunker."
That's not good, Jason. All right, that's not inviting intellectual discussion.
I mean, I think he's far past intellectual discussion, but you do
Yeah,
raise a point that I mean, if you're trying to argue your point with someone, it isn't a good thing to just start with. Actually, you're a dumb fuck because this is correct, then you're wrong because of this. Going out at it right away with that. I mean, you're not gonna listen to that and like, okay, this guy called me a dumb fuck. Maybe they have some good points they want to share. No, you're just gonna go into it with a negative mindset.
yeah.
So that doesn't get anyone anywhere.
Again, I think we should really use our friend groups. We are really the human experience in a bubble. All right, we can just
Yeah.
because everyone experiences the same thing that we do. We're the main characters. Life doesn't exist outside of when we're actively pursuing it. I mean,
Right.
Valley Fair, that place isn't open, not until we visit it
I
this year.
guess if we stop talking about Russo-Ukrainian conflict, it'll just
It's
disintegrate.
it's over. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait, does that mean so we're the
we're the
gods of our own universe? Does that
we're
mean that
the
we instigate?
aggressors.
We instigate? Well, okay. Let's think about this. Russia and Ukraine are fiction, then, right? And we created it.
The U.S. We created that. We
Where's the line?
that's
Where do you draw the fiction line?
yeah. I mean, definitely with that mindset, it's kind of like what you said earlier about like putting all the blame, or I guess all the good shit about God, or of all the human expansion and hard work on God. We're just saying outright, yeah, we did it. But yeah, I mean, there is also like the study of like human minds of, well, I mean, everything in your mind right now could just be created. You're creating reality,
I
which I
like
mean,
that.
in a sense, you are.
Yeah, I like that idea.
I don't know if I like that. Because what's beyond my mind then?
A lot.
Want to be nothing? If I create everything, if I create every thought. But I guess that also means that I would never be dead. Because if you're as long as you're constantly creating ideas in your mind, stuff that's happening to you, then you should be fine.
Like, what happens once your brain is eradicated?
Impossible, because
Was
unless you imagine your brain being eradicated, which you can't whilst it's being eradicated, then you know it can't happen.
well, I think this goes into a more fundamental question: Can God kill God? You would be the only one that
What
could, right? Only
could he?
God could create a mountain.
What is beyond God?
Exactly.
Does he just stop there? Maybe
God. Well,
is there a Christian viewer that can answer our questions?
this takes me back to probably my favorite quote by Alex Jones. God doesn't know where God came from.
Yeah, it's like I heard you say that. It's a good quote. Yeah, I mean, whatever is above ourselves, we don't fucking know.
What do cats think? What do they?
Don't they think that humans are just dumber cats when they live with us domestically?
Mm,
I,
I'm
I
not sure.
heard that somewhere.
I'd
I
be
think
curious.
there's less thought that goes into that, but yeah. Anyway, going way back, the Russo-Georgian War lasted for 12 days. That was an absolute steamroll. So I think
Yeah.
that's what they're expecting it to be. Um, I've been looking, at Twitter and recent updates. Not a lot going on, at least right now, other than for some reason hashtag abolish NATO, which 100% Russian bots, and then people responding to the Russian bots. But yeah, I couldn't fucking imagine a world where that would, like, sane people are saying, yeah, let's get rid of the one thing that is stopping,
What about
Russia from.
the people on Instagram, Vladdy Daddy?
Oh, those people I implore that go. They should keep doing it.
Why?
It's so fucking dumb. I love how dumb our generation can be, but that's why I love it as well. I mean, it's
We can be
our
dumb.
ver- our version of propaganda, or uh, well, I mean, it always,
Dehumanizing the enemy.
yeah, I mean, it definitely always has been there. I mean, but now we're seeing it on, like, our modern level, which is fun and interesting to me, at least.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, next week, I'm sure the conflict will have developed in certain ways. We'll make sure to touch up on it if there's been. Well, who knows? Uh,
Yeah, will we survive another week?
who knows? What about you?
Yeah, it's like
If the U.S. starts asking for troops and you're called, would you go?
me,
Yeah,
and I was drafted.
yeah.
100%. I mean, why not? Well, I guess I wouldn't say it like, yeah, I'm ready to go to war and, like, I'm gonna fuck some shit up. Put me in the front lines. I'm gonna end it. But I mean, why wouldn't I at this point? I don't want to sit in a prison cell while this is, developing. I'd rather do a part and help than just sit from the sidelines and just, that's also one less person that's helping. So if I could, I would.
Kind of get it.
What about you?
No, it would have
What's
to
your reason?
be very particular circumstances. The fundamental idea that I don't have to die for anyone else.
Yeah.
I can only die for myself, or if I choose to die for someone else, not because you're choosing to do so for me. Uh, what has this country given me? It's going into a okay. What have you done for me, game? You've done the bare minimum. As a country, you've given me 1,200, 1,400 checks, but you've also fucked me out of various others. Actually, no, you never gave me a 1200 because you fucked me on that again. If Walmart's an agent of society, then I'm fine to let this country burn to the ground. Um,
Interesting. I mean, I
maybe
also like to compare it to other less developed countries like Russia. I mean, if we look at their, economy even before this, or their lives before this, I think, yeah. I mean, our government definitely has its faults. Not a single person hasn't been fucked over by their own government, and
yeah,
whether it's just like a traffic ticket, or if it's large, like been falsely accused and straight up executed by the state. But again, I mean, it's going to be very extremely ignorant for me to say it, but it would be, shit happens, I guess. As long as, when you're comparing it to other countries, at least, in, modern day, I think, they've done a lot.
yeah. I think the only ever scenario where I'd be willingly ready to fight would be if, 1812 Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. Russia has crossed the Bering Strait and is fighting through Canada on its way to US, where it's kind of a do or die scenario. You have no alternative.
When it's not for somebody else, but when it is for like your own, well-being, or your own country that you live in.
My own well-being.
I mean, it's no matter what, you're still fighting for the ideas of your country.
Yeah, but like I personally, I get it. I am,
Yeah.
but I'm not.
I mean, if it was for me, I wouldn't do it for the government. I'd be doing it for the people. I mean, again, on a fundamental level, how much that matters is like nothing. But as long as, that fact is with me. But at the same time, again, I mean, the country isn't that bad, again, compared to a lot of the other, shit circumstances that people have to go through. Even just on a very easy level, freedom of speech. That's
Yeah.
nice to have. The fact that we can, shit talk our own president on here and not have to worry about, being executed the next day or being arrested for no reason.
Compared to
Yeah,
some other places, it feels like that's the bare minimum because we were born with it, as opposed to some other places where they don't have it, and it feels like such a great thing. And maybe it's we are the rich kid born with their parents' money of the countries, in
yeah.
some sense.
Not exactly spoiled, but we're not exactly. I mean, especially people who are born, in worse circumstances in this country, or had this country, screw them over even more. At least in some sense, the majority of people aren't being fucked over, and
Yeah.
people do what they can. The common person can be elected, and
Well,
at least the idea's there that it can be.
but then this goes back into illusion of control or illusion of how much you actually can do.
Yeah.
And I think this goes into, well, in an absolute perfect world, there would never be a need for government or a need for any ruling body, but there is. We can't figure out a alternative. So we're stuck with this best attempt,
Yeah.
but it's not great. But the alternative, as nice as it sounds on paper, never works out either. We have to guarantee a minimum amount of rights for everyone, but it comes at the cost of other things. It's the overall, I guess, net better option.
Yeah.
I see it like that. I just don't like it, but
I mean, this is the best attempt of democracy that we have, at least in
yeah,
my eyes. So,
yeah. It's still, well, depending on who you ask, I mean, voter fraud, which I do believe that there was some, not to the extent that Trump is claiming, but
there were some sketchy things I saw. I mean, I guess very anecdotal, I guess, but still. I mean,
I mean, I don't think the result of the election was really in question. I think that Biden genuinely won
right.
either way, but again, if this democracy continues the way as it should, this is so far the best attempt of, everyone gets a say, the world.
Right.
I mean,
Well, and the fact that it's not going to stay stagnant either. I mean, it's, it has the ability to change, and, at least in theory it does. So, I mean,
who knows, maybe, I mean, the idea of democracy has evolved from city-states like Athens and Greece, to where only white men with power or land can vote, to a gay woman of color, she has just as much voting power as a straight white successful CEO billionaire in America. It's good.
Yeah.
There's a level playing field.
Or at least, again, the idea's there. But yeah.
That's to quote Joe Rogan, how do you make America better? Stop having so many losers. Create more winners in society. Do that not by equal outcome, but by equal chance of opportunity, which is impossible. I remember a documentary I watched, The Lottery of Birth. It really just goes on and on about the main point where so much of your life is determined by your birth and the circumstances around it. My life was doomed to be however interesting it is due to the fact that I was born in Hutchinson to two genetically not great people that never had a great marriage to begin with. Those three things, it's kind of all it takes to. And I'm not saying this is always the case. There are people that rise above it, that can get out of it, but that's why those people are the exception. That's why those people are the ones that you know about versus the faceless million others that all faded away or I guess just stayed within their area.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah, I
about
mean, again, I mean, I don't know. It would be for essentially people, the people that are being affected, and then, obviously your way of life. That would be what it is boiled down to. No matter what, all you're doing is benefiting your government. And, whether you win or lose, it's kind of, you know, the decision of the higher ups and how they go about it, how they decide to use you as a pawn. But
that idea I'd be more comfortable with if the 60s, they were great in the sense that people trusted the government. John F. Kennedy, don't ask what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country.
yeah,
That point, I love that quote, but it's predicated on the idea that the country is serving the greater good. And this is still an attempt and it's a work in progress.
yeah,
But with the digital age of information, maybe its downside is that nothing ever feels like it's for the greater good. Training in police, giving money to the police department doesn't feel like it's going to be a good idea based on previous examples. Funneling or giving the CIA money to create fake vaccine programs, even though the CIA
yeah.
is supposed to be collecting intelligence against our enemies.
So I mean, two things. There's two things we can't escape. We can't escape corruption. There's always going to be, psychopaths in power and people who can do shit that, they're going to be doing shit that, is morally wrong and should be deplored,
Mhm.
and also, mistakes. Defunding a police organization and expecting crime rates to, you know, deplete. That's, not going to work, but the fact that they did it, they realized that it's not working, so they started, funding them again. At least from what I heard, then that's great. I mean, you can make mistakes in a democracy and then fix
Yeah.
them later on, and then
Yeah.
yeah, and then again, corruption that is an impossible feat. Or I mean, there are ways we can go about it, but I think that is just an impossible feat of humanity to try and avoid. I think, no matter what, you're going to face levels of corruption. It's fucked up. I absolutely, detest it. I wish we could, go around it in some ways, but I don't know. I don't know if that's possible.
Uh, Manufacture 9 point something billion tabs of LSD. There you go.
Yeah. No, just give out drugs to the people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let people enjoy themselves for a day. Hopefully, they won't get hooked on them, and then we'll and then we'll be a
Oh,
functional society right after that.
you're not getting hooked on LSD.
Okay,
No.
well, I mean, drugs in general, that would be a gamble, but yeah. And then, yeah, LSD.
Well, I think if Russia shifted their focus of wanting war with other countries for territory to how can we get more drugs to make our people in power happy?
You know what would happen?
Hmm.
Russian, China would just outright, yeah, no, we're done. You can get, like, for importing and exporting drugs out of China, that's like death penalty.
Yeah.
That's, that definitely would be death to their diplomatic ties with China.
I don't know because I know the U.S. and China they have trade agreements and marijuana is recreational in some states, not federally yet, but
I mean, if imagine if it's federally, but then again, I mean, we're also benefiting China so much with business. I think we're probably the biggest importer and exporter of China. I don't know how much Russia really provides. I think someone explained it again as what Russia's just a big gas station with fucking military. So I think, obviously they export a lot of fuel and gas, and I don't know how much other shit they export though. I thought it was an unstable economy because their main export is oil.
we love the gas prices going up. They've been going up in town. That's wonderful to see.
Already?
I mean, again, I saw
I mean, it's been,
350, 359 as opposed to it being like what 319 what felt like a week and a half ago.
yeah. No, in coming days, I guess, expect it probably like $1 higher.
Ah, that'll be wonderful.
Yeah. But that's the price democracy has to pay.
It's a good time to have a V8, right?
Yeah, fuck that. God damn, I couldn't imagine. Especially how much my car, like, how much that guzzles gas. Like, I had to, like, when I was driving it, I think it was like twice a week I had to refill it.
Fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess for me, I'd probably be lucky. I'd only have to do it once a week as opposed to you. But
I can take a gamble, and I think it would be, like, further,
mhm.
like, but I mean, still, when it's really close to the E, it's kind of risky, especially when you're like 30 minutes to the next gas station.
Yeah, I I don't know. There's one part that's like, okay, complain about the gas prices, but what are you gonna do? Not buy gas?
Yeah.
It's like your
I
rent.
guess while you can, shit, will you? Will they stop using the fucking door? Uh, what is it? Yeah, how old are you right now? You're
Bitch.
20, right?
Yeah,
You're
I'm
20.
I'm
Yeah.
20.
So okay, so that's what I thought. I mean, it's what your birthday's around September.
Fuck you. Yeah, it's around
Okay.
September.
Okay. Jesus, it's in September, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Jesus. I told you I'm bad with birthdays and I'm horrible with names. I don't really pay attention. I probably should, but I'm
No,
a
it's good.
shitty
It's fine.
person.
It's fine.
I'm trying to be a better person. But anyway, imagine more sanctions and eventually, like, even if we do an embargo, you wouldn't be able to get vodka legally, or at least Russian vodka, like the real shit.
Yeah, I don't know if I've had Russian vodka. If I have, and that's all I've been having, then that sucks. But otherwise, you know what? I'll be fine with my American. I'll make the switch over to American-made distilleries.
I'd like to at least try it.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean, it's probably like a little different, but I mean, still. I mean, it's their staple. Why wouldn't you want to try it?
I don't know if I've tried true, genuine American whiskey. I mean, there's fuck, I can't remember their name, but I know Joe Rogan has them as a advertiser on his podcast. They're a whiskey distillery that's been in business since like 17 something, maybe 18. They were around even when Prohibition was still a thing. The oldest whiskey distillery in America, maybe the world. Buffalo Trace whiskey.
Buffalo Trace. Okay, I would just so Buffalo Trace bourbon. Just found that. I was trying to find it, but yeah, it's that's got to be good.
I'd be willing to try it. I mean,
I mean, you don't have to worry about that going away.
yeah. Wasn't there a U.S.-Canada pipeline that people wanted to get pushed through, but it never happened?
Yeah, I don't even fucking know. I think they were talking about it. U.S. Canada pipeline. The Keystone XL pipeline. Everything you need to know. What, in 2008? All right. All right. Will go down as one of the generation's most monumental environmental victories. All right, when was this post made? 2021. All right, the Keystone XL pipeline extension proposed by TC Energy, Trans Canada, in 2008 was initially designed to transport planet's dirtiest fossil fuel, tar sands oil to market and fast. As an expansion as the country. Okay. Tar sands. Yeah, I'm not. Okay. So from Alberta, Canada. Is that? Oh, there we go. Okay, so there already is a pipeline between Canada and the U.S. So it's called the existing it's called the Keystone Pipeline System. The other one, the Keystone XL, I guess that one stops near Nebraska. Am I right? Or I'm guessing? Or it merges with another one, but either way, it would have been just more than what we already have.
Yeah.
Might be more efficient, but yeah, I mean, pipelines are really efficient with transporting shit.
I mean, if, embargo with Russia, that really would be the US's best option for
Yeah.
reducing overall. You gotta think, next presidency, if shit continues along this path, then Biden's not gonna have favorable responses at all. Oil prices, war with or situation with Russia.
I mean, yeah, people aren't going to look into the specifics and like, well, this would have happened anyway. And
Yeah.
at the very least, he responded to it, and some mannerisms I agree with, some I don't. I mean, but at the same time, they're just gonna look at it face value. Well, the economy was crap. Uh, he didn't. I think it was the pipeline, the Keystone XL, that they. Yeah, in 2015, the U.S. State Department under President Barack Obama declined to grant the northern leg of the Keystone XL project to permit required to construct, maintain, and operate the pipeline. So I think it was a permit that President Trump later granted and President Biden once again revoked. Yeah, so they're definitely gonna look at this next presidency, and then hopefully it started up again, especially with this shit going on.
I mean, I kind of agree with it. It was unnecessary when the whole world is in cooperation, but now
Right.
that
Well, we put too much hope in the people and the world powers, and like, well, I mean, we can talk to them now. Diplomacy is always going to be on the table.
but then Russia is that kid with the big ass stick that just,
Yeah.
he likes to club other people and he's a cunt and his mom won't fucking punish him. So,
Yeah, have you seen that video where it's like, if only I was Putin's mom?
what?
Yeah, what was that video? It was like that lady, if I was Putin's mom, he wouldn't have been so bad. I would have loved him and cared for him, like trying to be like,
The fuck?
oh, it was fucking awful.
If
Let
I
me
had
see if I
been
can find it on YouTube.
if I had been his Vladdy daddy, this never would have happened.
It was like that, but unironic. You can just see the thumbnail. You'll already, dear President Vladimir Putin. President used a term used very lightly here, at least in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, that's definitely if things keep going the way they are and they're not going to go very favorably. And let's assume, perfect circumstance. Well, not really perfect at all, actually. Perfect for a war. No nuclear weapons are used. That happens. Yeah, definitely not gonna look favorably at all.
I mean,
So I don't know if he was ever planning on running again though.
oh, definitely. Why wouldn't he? I think that's like it's not even the presidency, it's the political party behind the presidency, which is fucked. That's another issue. That's our failure as a democracy, the two-party system, if you want to boil it down into one phrase. As far as I know, other people wanting to run for 2024. I know Trump wants to run again. I
Okay,
know
yeah, he says he wants to run again. All right.
I know Kanye wants to run again. I
I liked all those videos where like he's telling people he wants to do it, and then people just laugh at him, and he's like, "What?"
I'll listen to his ideas. I won't write him off just because he's Kanye. I I I am coming into it with a bit of personal bias. I do like some of his music, so I'm definitely more inclined to at least listen to his ideas, but I think that should be something that people afford to him regardless of. I think Trump set a precedent that you don't need political experience. It's not a requirement and never has been, but it's been shown that you can get into office without it.
Yeah, I mean, even Ukraine, that's a perfect example of it. Vladimir Zelensky, he was a comedian and an actor
Really?
before. Yeah, he was actually in a movie about being president for Ukraine before he was in Ukraine as a president.
Manifest.
Yeah,
Manifest.
it
Other
just shows, he's probably, the, when you think of a leader nowadays, I'm going to be thinking of him,
mhm.
and just the way he's handled this whole situation. Yeah, you don't need, political experience to be a good leader for a country. It definitely can help in certain situations, especially with diplomatic ties and whatnot. But
But then it starts to
it's
be like career politicians. You get that hammer and nail mentality where they only know how to solve things like a politician, or they're ruled by their party.
right.
Which other people, the only other one, well, two other ones. If Bernie ran, uh, okay.
Would
If my
would be
two ideal
Sanders.
candidates, Bernie Sanders or Tulsi Gabbard, ran, my vote would probably be either one of them two. I think great for overall. I don't know. They
I
seem like
forgot what that
hmm?
forgot what that guy's name was. He was I think it was New York governor. What's that?
Uh,
What's
Kuma? No, New York governor.
presidential candidates 2020?
You get Jeb Bush, slow Jeb.
Motherfucker.
How about Gary? All right.
All right, I see his face. Hopefully this has it. Slow internet. There it is. We're getting there. Oh, I'm not going to join your community. And it's all blurred. Fuck you, fortune.com. Yeah, no, it's not on here. All right, wonderful. Wonderful. All right, let's try it again. Go ad free. I have to turn off my ad block for this shit. All right. No, I don't want to pay for your shit. Who the fuck would use USA Today? It sounds like a propaganda machine. All
Because
right.
it is.
Always? I didn't mean that. All right, whatever. Whatever. I can use it now. Remember Mike Bloomberg
Yeah,
ads?
yeah.
Like, I think he spent like the most on a political campaign in
Yeah.
history, and he never got in. I love that.
Like,
Just because you're high and mighty and fucking money doesn't mean you're gonna get in.
sadly, no. What if?
Sadly,
Well, if Musk ran, actually, he can't. Damn.
fuck that. No, I
I'd
don't
be,
want him.
I'd be interested. Why wouldn't you
It
want him?
would it would be interesting. I don't agree 100% with his politics.
What are his politics?
It's the shit he does. All right.
All right, such as.
Andrew Yang. That's what I was looking for.
Oh shit! I love some of his ideas.
No, he wasn't. He wanted to invest more into nuclear power plants. I was 100% for him. I would have voted for him in a heartbeat.
He has some great ideas. So yeah, nuclear power plants, universal basic income. I know it sounds like communism, but look at a situation like COVID, where people that get fucked out of their jobs need reliable income as a backup. But the other idea, and I think it's probably the best way to solve the whole police versus citizens mentality, is that every officer has to be a purple belt.
Wait, what does that mean?
I mean,
Yang's platform includes providing every American 18 and older with a basic income of $1,000 a month. What kind of taxes do you plan on throwing in for that? Holy shit. I don't know about that. Free healthcare, I think we should have that because we're like the only Western society without it, but I don't know about.
I think there's an idea on paper, maybe a bit rough, but something
Maybe he
there.
has said that to run with his party, but maybe that's just being too hopeful. But
But again, his idea, every police officer should be a purple belt, which I think is like a year or two of, I think just typically people would go with jujitsu as the most common one for police officers. You see this like a fat fuck police officer that is completely out of shape, and he immediately goes for his gun because he doesn't know how to de-escalate a situation.
well, exactly. I mean, they're undertrained. I think we should, instead of defunding them, we should be spending more on them to be
Exactly.
trained better. Because yeah, I mean, shit hits the fan, they reach for their gun, no matter what, if it's a knife or, which I mean, some situations, yeah, I mean, it's
That's
100%
fair,
correct.
but
Somebody's running at you with a knife, yeah,
when it's some drunk guy though, if you know how to handle the human body, then you're not going to feel intimidated. He's not going to be a threat. It's just you're not going
exactly.
to think, all right, do I go for my gun? You're going to think, okay, how do I want to take this guy down without hurting him too much? The confidence that would give officers. I mean, I
Well,
know
it's just too easy to just like, yeah, well, you have a gun. I mean, let's just see how far it intimidates someone who probably isn't in a good place mentally.
people that officers that are just bad at detaining people. George Floyd, for example,
Yeah.
that wouldn't have happened if the Derek Chauvin, I think, if he knew what he was doing.
Siobhan.
Yeah.
Siobhan, yeah. Um, I'm trying to see what are Kanye's ideas.
Uh, that's a great question.
I'm trying to find some.
He doesn't overly elaborate on anything specific, at least from what I remember.
That's what concerns me, though.
His rationale for that, at least when it came to the idea of foreign diplomacy, foreign policy, was that he said that he'll be able to make the best decision for the country when he has all of the information presented to him, which I kind of get. Coming from a civilian perspective, you really don't know everything, but you should at least have some idea, or at
Yeah.
least an idea that people can at least. It's like not you don't put yourself out there to be criticized or praised. You're just okay. Give me the best information, which I do agree with. You do need the best information to adequately make a decision, but people
Right.
need people need more than just faith. They don't believe in God like you do.
Yeah. I mean, if he at least like had some. Okay, if this happened, this is what I would do. At least like some scenarios to back up, like okay, we can trust you a little bit with giving you the nuclear launch codes and being, commander in chief of our military.
I wonder how if he'd write a song during presidency, that'd be kind of cool.
100%, he probably would find the time.
Would he blacklist Kim? Oh, what's that?
Yeah,
You don't want me? You don't want me? Well, guess who's the president now? I'm sorry. The area that
yeah,
you live in?
yeah.
No, I have a government project I want to put there.
It's time. It's time to go to Mexico. I wonder how
Um,
he would deal with the border situations. He sounds very Republican. But again, we don't know that because I can't I can't really find anything specific.
I know he's affiliated himself with Republican Party members, but his
Right.
ideas, I have no idea. I don't. like ever thinking of someone's ideas as Republican or Democrat. I try really to avoid putting a political label on it.
Well, exactly what I did with Andrew Yang. I mean, I really don't give a shit who the hell you affiliate with. If I like what you do, the majority of the stuff you do, then I'm gonna, vote for you. But again, I mean, yeah, that's why I couldn't like register in my state as a Republican or lib, uh, libtard or conservatard. I don't know. I think that's so fucking dumb that that's even an option.
Yeah. Well,
Because then
it's
that's just setting up yourself. Like, yeah, my opinions aren't going to change. This is what I believe in.
That's so dumb. I mean, this
Yeah.
state isn't going to change. This state's dug in. This is in every election. The state has voted Democrat. In I can't remember who Reagan's opponent was, but Minnesota was the only state in the entire country to vote Democrat.
That's interesting.
It,
Yeah, that's
so the state, again, this is the downfall. The state belongs to the dogma of the two-party rule. It's fucked.
yeah. I mean,
Other states do too for the other side, so it
yeah,
balances out. But the fact that we have to balance it out.
right. I mean, Florida is always going to be 100% Republican,
No,
or Texas.
Florida's not. Texas, maybe not.
Florida's not.
Florida's a swing state.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Texas, maybe not so much anymore. Austin is basically becoming the blueberry and tomato soup. Majority of the population is in Dallas and Austin, where, a lot of people are moving to because fuck LA, fuck New York, but they carry the, liberal ideas with them. Vote liberal more often than not.
Interesting. Well, at
So
least
Texas could change.
modern days. I mean, Texas could change. I mean, you definitely get a lot of city people. People in rural areas tend to vote more Republican for, it makes sense. And then people in cities, tend to vote the other way. It's not always the case, but that's simplifying it a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's again, that's very quiet. I mean, compared to, well, I mean, at least for us, maybe I'm not doing as much looking into stuff as I have been the last couple days, but compared to other nights where I would look at the Ukrainian news, but
I'm sure tomorrow morning
yeah,
will be an influx. No, I was going to ask.
definitely. I mean, there's still, right now, probably today would have been the worst day if we were to try and track it because I believe they haven't met with the Russia at the Belarus border yet, but they're still going. They're planning on doing that.
Maybe it's a trap.
Scary, but could be true.
No, I guess I was going to ask both of you, political candidate, anyone running in 2024 that you really hope to see that you're probably going to at least be interested in hearing their policy, maybe vote for?
Again, I mean, if Andrew Yang went again, and then
You want to be part of the
maybe
Yang gang?
maybe if he changed some of his policies, I would be interested in looking into that. I don't know. I absolutely am 100% for nuclear power. If I would have one in my backyard.
But Chernobyl.
Just to prove my point.
But Chernobyl.
But
Fukushima.
But a nuclear power plant that was created by the Soviets in the 80s or 70s that that was controlled by people who are overworked. What about isms?
What about Fukushima though?
Fukushima, that was it's right next to it was designed for a certain level of intensity of a hurricane, and it exceeded that, and we've learned from it.
I mean, it was a tsunami, but yeah.
Yeah, tsunami. That's what I fucking meant. But yeah, it's Or even Long Island. I think that one's actually probably our best example because it happened in the US. There were no casualties, and we contained it pretty fucking well.
Yeah.
So, and it's just showing that that we have a few examples to call from, and how much people are dying because of carbon monoxide or dioxide, whichever one. I don't exactly remember, from what coal-fired plants and whatnot. It's, if you actually look at the data, there's actually more deaths to be accounted for from
Have you
fossil fuels than nuclear power plants.
poured through the numbers yourself, Mr. Nocam? The
I
figures.
I did a 8-page essay in high school on it.
Okay, so let me get this straight. You get your sources from, and you get your info from men you've never met before, and you take it on a willingness to believe, a wanting to subscribe, a leap of, dare I say it, faith?
No. No.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
You can say that about anything if you absolutely boil it down. Yeah. And then there we go. I just lost my argument. Yeah, that's all that is the opposing view is, well, I mean, you believe it?
Again, everything is a Mac moment in this world now.
Yeah. Mac and Dennis moment. I mean, the Dennis moment being, well, I mean, you won't attack us because of the implication.
Yeah. Yeah. You can make a meme out of that. That'd be good.
I could. I'll post that to my Twitter.
Okay. We gotta head out, but I would just like to.
Yeah, we can end things on that.
I was gonna say I wanted to take this time to thank you, ladies and gentlemen, our future listeners, maybe future civilizations, for listening to this very special episode. I think from all three of us, we send our sincerest hopes and wishes for the betterment of the citizens and the people of Ukraine. Stay strong, stay fighting. Um, yeah. Any other words?
Yeah, 100% agree with everything you said. This isn't in any way, shape, or form supposed to take advantage of it because, not putting it in the description or the title, just 100%.
All right, we get it. You're like Frank talking about we don't diddle kids. We don't diddle kids. That's
Okay, yeah. Okay, whatever. You know what? Yeah, we yeah, what he said. I'm 100%, you know what? Maybe I'll bite my tongue, but I believe Ukraine will win, and hopefully it'll be an interesting future, coming along. We'll see if we have met nuclear demise by next week Sunday.
Any final words, GymBagBob?
I'm assuming that's a no. Have a good night, and
Okay.
thank you for tuning in.